Good evening, guys. I am making some chicken in a creamy sun-dried tomato and basil sauce. So I am starting right now with just browning the chicken. I don't want to get it too brown because I want to be able to put it back in after I add in the garlic and the sun-dried tomatoes, the wine. And I'm not using cream. It does call for cream. I am doing organic half and half and Parmesan to thicken it up. So I'm just gonna, these are very, very thin cut organic chicken breasts. So I'm just gonna cook those off. And then when they're done, I'm gonna pull them out. As you guys see, I already have pasta water. The pasta is already cooked. That is organic penne. Let me turn this up a little bit more. Then I'll give you guys a little bit of a rundown while that's cooking off a little bit more of what the other ingredients are. So we have, there's salt and pepper already on the chicken. We have the organic pasta. We're doing organic half and half. The sun-dried tomatoes are these. I already have them cut up. So we have those. They're made in Italy, really good quality. So we have those cut up. We have some organic basil that's already chiffonaded into this container. We have some pepper, some onion powder, 2 containers of garlic. We have some white wine. And basically that's all we need, but plus the cheese to thicken it up. And these little containers are adorable. Miss Darlene from Forest City Kitty sent me those. And of course we're cooking in Kerrygold butter. So, get back to the chicken. Well, sorry guys, making you dizzy. So the chicken is looking good. I don't want to overcook it because it's going to go back in the sauce. That little piece over there looks a little bit raw. We don't want any raw. And this one piece of pork is thicker than all the rest. I'm going to take this guy out. I have a little plate right over here to the side. Take that out, and then I'm going to actually lower this to put the garlic in, because you don't want to ever burn your garlic, because then it tastes very bitter. You just want to get your garlic just sauteed, and then I should have all those ingredients right over here, and I don't. Not a big deal. I'm going to dance with you guys back across the kitchen. Go grab the garlic and turn that down a little bit. That's why we have the wine and we have the pasta water, so we can cool it down. So let's get these guys here. I'm gonna throw that garlic in. We want to get that just so that it is sauteed. You don't want it to brown. You want to just pull the flavor out. Let it out a little bit. Like a minute or two, you can go. I'm not going to keep you guys that long. I'm going to actually let it go for a little bit. I wish I could go like the fast forward mode. I'm not that proficient yet in the video making. I don't have like one of those newfangled things like Splice or those things. I don't know how to do that yet. Maybe one day. Alright, so that's good. Now we're going to add in some of the wine. I'm going to have a good amount of the wine in there. And this is, we're going to turn that back up now. And this is why we didn't worry about the chicken getting super cooked through. We didn't want it raw, but we didn't need to have it super cooked through. We're going to get it back in there. And any juices on the plate. Of course, you want to throw this one little poor guy, that piece. He's very, very tiny. We have a mismatched batch here of chicken. We're going to throw in any juices from the plate. And then we're going to let that come up a little bit. And then once you see it start to bubble like that, that's when we're going to throw in the sun-dried tomatoes so that they can plump up a little bit more. Let's grab those. Sorry about the back and forth, guys. I really should have had everything over here. I did clean off this counter for that. So we're gonna throw these guys in so that they can get in there in the wine and get all those flavors in there too. And I am gonna throw a little bit of the pasta water in there. Might as well put a little bit more of the wine too, why not? Just as flavor is gonna all cook off anyway. And then I'm gonna try to make one trip for the rest of the stuff. I gotta grab the cheese, the basil, and the half and half. So you're gonna let that cook a little bit more. We're gonna turn that up because we're gonna want the half and half to thicken up with the cheese. And we also want it to come up a little bit more so that that garlic cooks all the way through. So let's see, we need cheese, we need basil, we need half and half. So there we go. We'll get this onion and this pepper. All right, I think we're in business now. All right, let's get this half and half in there. Okay. I'm just gonna pour enough that I know that it's gonna be, I would say that's about a cup and a half, maybe a cup and 3/4 of the half and half. I don't really use a recipe, as you guys can tell. I'm not a real recipe person. So that's why a lot of times I'll say, if you want the recipe, I will sit down and write it out. Now I'm throwing in the cheese because I want it to thicken up since I didn't use the heavy cream. I'd much rather use cheese than I would rather get my fat from the cheese than the heavy cream. The half and half is a little bit lighter, and they didn't have any organic heavy cream anyway. And we're gonna we're gonna turn that up a little more because we want that to come to a heavy simmer. We're gonna put in some pepper. And we're gonna put in a little bit of onion powder. So we got both of those in there. And we want to have that come up a little bit. Probably gonna have to add a little bit more cheese in there. Get it going really good, bubbly. And the sun-dried tomatoes are a preference. Personally, I'm not a huge fan. I don't mind it in here because, you know, you can put in more or less, whatever your little heart desires. I don't mind them in a small amount. I don't mind them in like bruschetta and different things. I don't mind them in, you know, an antipasta, but straight up this way, I left them large enough, so if you're not a big fan, you can add something else too. You can do this with, if you would prefer fresh tomatoes, you could do grape tomatoes with this. You could do whatever vegetable you really wanted. You could do artichoke hearts. You could do one of my favorites, Brussels sprouts. You could do anything. You would just have to, of course, have that cooked. But see, now you can see it's starting to thicken up. And it depends on how thick you want the sauce. If you wanted to use the heavy cream, you could. That would definitely make it much thicker. And if you wanted to use more cheese, you could make it thicker. This is basically thick enough for me. I'm gonna add the basil now because to me, that thickness is a little bit thin, but I like that with my pasta because I have really good sourdough bread to soak that up. But if you continue to allow this to boil and simmer like that, it's not going to stick because you have all that butter and that wine and that pasta water. And if you have a really good pan, it's not going to stick. So then I'm going to throw in all that fresh basil, all that beautiful chiffonade basil, and that's going to give it another layer of flavor. And of course you can add more salt and pepper to taste. You can add more basil. You can add whatever you like. If you like oregano, you can add it. The dish does not call for it, but you know, it's whatever you like. So at this point, I will add just another sprinkle of cheese, and I will call that a done dish. And that will go on top of the pasta, and I say it's done. So on the channel, I will put up a picture of it plated later on. After it will thicken up too once the temperature comes down, but that is my chicken sun-dried tomatoes with basil in a cream sauce. All right, guys, have a good night.